So today finds me in the little town of Conistone, or village more accurately, or even a hamlet. It's a lovely little typical Dales village. That's the direction I'm going in. I'm going up Conistone Nib, which is a dry valley, and then heading up to the moors, and finally ending up at a cave. So here we are at the beginning of the little meander, just come up out of the village, and obviously you can see this is a scar. It's an old collapsed cavern, now a dry valley, but I imagine in the massive floods I'm sure water comes down here, which would be quite spectacular. You can see these lovely thick bedded limestones, approximately half a metre I would have said, part of the Great Scar limestone series from the Upper Carboniferous. We should be working our way up towards the Mossdales. You can see its gorge-like qualities. It's not too dissimilar to Troller's Gill actually, which I'm going to do a walkabout, or redo the walkabout next time. There's a little scoured out channel to climb up between the rocks. Imagine if you're a kid, this would be fantastic. It's like fairyland. So a few hundred metres up the path, and we've come out of the gorge and into this dry valley. A lot of scree on either side. Lovely day, but a bit cold. Well, I suppose it should be in December. So now the river valley's widened out, even though it's still a dry valley. I should imagine there was a big stream coming down here, funneled through into that gorge that we just walked up. That would have carved it through, eventually causing the roof to collapse, now leaving it as just a very high gorge. You can see some spurs on either side, and doubtless that these were glacial meltwash channels. I would think. I'll have to do a bit of research on that. But we're heading in this direction. It's a nice undulating, gently climbing route, this. Example on that hillside there of some what we call turf terracets. It's just due to gravity, just pulling it down, and the ground slumps into little ridges. Look like mini rice paddies. So now approaching yet another narrow gorge, again in a dry valley. I shouldn't be too surprised. It's the nature of this bench-like formations up here. It's a beautiful place. There's some old field systems up the top there, and an old settlement. We're on the Dales Way. I'm going straight on. Behind me is Conistone, and I'm going on up to Sandygate and then to Mossdale Scar. So up onto the tops for a little while. You can see a bit of white stuff. As we pan round, you can see a beautiful day there off in the distance, up into the Dales, more snow. So just come up what's called the Bycliffe Road, come to a junction. I'm going to go right where it says to Middlesmoor, marked as a bridle way, so it should be reasonably decent walking. Beautiful day, beautiful. It's been a while since there's been no cloud, or low cloud. So I'm at Kelber Gate, which is pretty much up at the top. Always a good sign, this, for a guy who's into rocks. Let's see what we can find. Well, as I'm at the highest point of today's walk, I thought I'd go for the obligatory panorama. It is, as you can see, absolutely gorgeous. One thing I didn't expect to come across right up here at the top, horses. I hope they're having a nice time. I am. So I've just walked up there, which is the Bycliffe Road, followed it round. I've come to a junction now, and I'm heading off in that direction just for a while, and then I'll come back this way back to this cairn here. I'm at somewhere called Clyber. That goes out, and I'm going to walk along that wall out there and do a big circle. Up into some proper grouse territory now. A couple of signs I've just passed saying don't bring your dogs, so I can only imagine that people pay a lot of money to wander around killing things. It's beautiful though. So lower down we saw some quite massive limestones with metre to 2 metre thick beds, and of course what we've got up here is some very different stuff. You can see very clearly that the rocks are much more layered. And what we've got here is a mixture of limestone, sandy limestone, sandstones, shales. This is what's called the Mossdale series, and these are typical of cyclical deposits in a delta environment. Noteworthy down here is a dry valley. I'll make reference to that in a minute. So a couple of 100 metres up, here's the stream, back again. We'll keep on walking. So just up ahead is Mossdale Scar, and that is the object of today's walk. If you see in the distance, almost Tolkien-like place in the middle of nowhere. I believe it's a shooting hut. Anyway, we've come here. As you can imagine, the catchment area for this gets quite a bit of water. And in fact, it comes here. This is Mossdale Beck. And you can see it's quite a sizable bit of stream until all of a sudden it disappears down there. And this is the infamous Mossdale caverns. And you can see well back from the stream and up on the walls a lot of debris. So it's not difficult to imagine that this is going to overflow and flood. And that's the story of what happened to the cavers here in 1969. So I've walked up from opposite Mossdale Scar. I'll come up towards where the shooting hut is. I'm going to go down and cross that bridge, then go back along the other side until I can get to where the entrance to the cave was. And there's a plaque there, and I'll tell you the story. So on approaching down towards the scar, you can see from the river unmistakably that the rocks are sandstones, which tells you very much that we're in the Mossdale series, these deltaic deposits, and therefore not just limestones. So here, tragically, on the 24th of June 1967, 6 young lads, aged between the ages of 26 and 17, came to do some exploration at the far end. But unfortunately, this beck filled in a matter of no time with rainwater. It absolutely tanked over the top and basically filled the cave to the roof. Yeah, the alarm was raised. Loads of cavers came up, dug ditches, made dams, however all in vain, and eventually they were found all sadly died. And as far as I know, I think their bodies are still here entombed at a higher level for all time. So I thought I'd just take a minute and have a think about them. Who knows, could have been me in a former life. Poor souls. Back to a lesser known man, Alistair Milner, who was one of the pioneers of exploration in here. He died in here on the 12th to 13th of June 1965. Not quite sure what the situation was why he died. I'll have to look into that. But again, nothing is easily won. So you can see from these rocks, they're not the classic limestones, they're mainly sandy limestones, and the thing about the Mossdale series is it doesn't develop much in the way of caves. That's because of the sandstone, limestone, siltstone, shale, all of that. It doesn't lend itself particularly well to cave development in the same way that pure limestones do. However, this area has suffered a lot from fault movement, which has been controlling sedimentation here since the Carboniferous, so that's getting on for 280 million years. And my thoughts are that the cave development has been in some of the vertical cracks that have been widened by faulting, and the bedding also slightly exposed, and that's what brought people to here, because Mossdale's caving is rare, or relatively rare anyway. So I've climbed up above the scar now. I'm just turning around to walk back. Getting a bit grey, might be a bit of snow in the air. Anyway, not hang about. Previously mentioned, I'm back from Mossdale, which is in the far distance. I've come back along the track. I'm at the cairn now, and I'm going to head up along this wall. I'm going to follow that for about a mile until I reach the Dales Way. Follow that a little bit, and then I've had a look on the map, and there's a bridle path or drover's track which I'm going to check out, which wasn't on my original route. Well, as you can see, you'd probably struggle to find a better day in December to go for a walk up here. I'm just going to meander along to this wall and then take a left to some disused mine shafts. I'm going to have a quick deco at. Just been having a lovely chat with that old bloke there up at the top, 84-year-old. Saying he can't do more than 4 miles now because he's just had both his hips replaced. Fair play to him, what a lad. And his wife. So, turning to head backwards now. We're back down to the village. It's an old abandoned farm. Could be a doer-upper. Well, if you did buy this place and do it up, which would need some severe work, you'd be rewarded with a hell of a view from your bedroom window. I rather think it might have seen better days. Nice old range though, not fire. There's one to the room as well. I wonder how old this is. Brilliant. It's a mental location, that's for sure. Look at that. Okay. This is the end, my battery's about to die, so I'm about to have a brew on them rocks in front of me. Not a bad way to go. To Conistone. Managed to get a little bit of charge in the car. It was a fantastic walk. I can highly recommend it. As you can see. Beautiful little village. See you on the next one.